All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Indrek. I am the CEO and co-founder of AlphaBlues, and really happy to welcome you into our second webinar on the topic of how to build superior customer service chatbot. What we will do today is I will cover briefly about our company and what we have done, so you get a background into who we are. And then what I'll do is I'll go through the 5 things that I think can make any of your bots that you have built or want to build better and superior. What we also have here is you can ask questions in the chat side pane. So if you want to do that, just leave your question. I will go through the slides and presentation in about 20 minutes or so. So I will leave plenty of time in the end where I will make sure to answer everybody's question. And also, this recording will be accessible through the webinar page later on as on demand. And we will also post the video onto our YouTube channel as well. So you will have easy access if you want to watch it as a replay later. All right. So with that, let's get started. And what I will do now is a few words about us and who we are. So AlphaBlues as a company, we have been around for 3.5 years. And the whole company was started to automate processes and enable humans to do meaningful work. And I think today in the field of customer service chat automations, machines can do plenty. And humans can be left for more meaningful and creative work. We are based in Europe and have done this for some relatively large customers. So currently, the virtual assistants that we have built, they are doing around 250,000 conversations each month. So we have a pretty good understanding of what are the main components in virtual assistants and also how to improve them. Briefly about the product that we have and how we think about the space. And I think if you work with us or some other vendors, this might be similar. But if you're looking at chat automation, then you really need to think of like the whole end-to-end spectrum. And so here is what I mean by it. So, the first thing you have is the virtual assistant is put somewhere. You can put it into Facebook Messenger or WhatsApp or on your website. If it's on a website, it needs a chat window that you can put things in it. So, it's advisable to have things like videos or buttons or pictures or text or offline forms, for example. Then the second part of the product is that, you want to have an environment where you can build the virtual assistant. So you can add topics, answers, you can train the bot. Then it has to have a natural language understanding component. So that means that, when customers write something like, how long is your company office open today, or where can I find product X, then you can actually train it so that it works in various languages and the AI is actually making sense of what is being asked. And then another part into a product which we built last year was that, it's not just about the virtual assistants, it's also about handing over the conversation to the human agent. So, if the virtual assistant cannot help you, then it needs to able to channel the conversation to a live customer support agent. So how that happens, in what priority, in what order, and then, a full tool for agents to actually answer customer questions. And then, of course, you can measure everything literally. So this is something that when you talk about chatbots or virtual assistants, having this sort of end-to-end product setup is very beneficial, because ultimately these will be the steps that you will need. And during the beginning of the Corona crisis, we actually created a Corona bot, which was a free bot for anybody really to get information and valid information from the World Health Organization data about what's happening. This was featured in CNN, so we got pretty good coverage about that, and it was good to do something back and give something back to the community with the product that we have. Okay, so let's now dive into the 5 things that I think at the moment can help companies really make their bots better. So the first one is, how long does it take to get a virtual assistant up and running, right? And I'm not going to give an answer. It depends, because I've heard it too many times and it's not a really good answer. So I'd say in theory it can be done in a few hours, right? Actually, even quicker. So ultimately, if you're working with a vendor, and this can be somebody else besides us, but usually, making a new bot is kind of like just opening up a new Word document, right? It's you press a button, you get the skeleton, and you start writing content into it, and getting sort of the bot skeleton out is relatively, usually it's automated. Getting the content, adding topics, training it, hour or so, you have something that's in a pretty good shape, right? So that's sort of technically what goes in there. But of course, in reality, it's a bit different. And the sort of the main underlying assumption here is that the customer or the buyer knows what they want. They know why they're purchasing the bot. What is the main KPI metric that they want to improve? Is it customer service? Let's say, I don't know, queue reduction, faster service. Does it have to do more sales? Whatever that is, here I'm assuming that the customer knows it. But usually why, the getting the virtual assistant up and running takes in enterprise. So we're talking about, large corporations. In smaller companies, it may be quicker, but let's talk about, a bank or a telecom or insurance company. It takes at least 2 months or maybe up to 4 months. Is that, one, you have to get questions and topics from the customer. So the customer has to understand what will be automated, what are the topics that the bot should know. Then you need to train it. Usually that's done by us or usually the vendor. But of course, during that time, you educate the customer as well to do it themselves later on. Then there's a question of, does the bot need to be connected to live chat or not? Do they have an existing live chat system, or do they want to connect to the vendors or let's say in our case, we have Alpha AI and Alpha Chat. Do they need to connect the bot to Alpha Chat as well? If it's basically something that you buy from the vendor, the bot and the chat in one package, it's usually quicker. But then if you buy the bot from one vendor and then you start doing connections to another third-party chat system, it will take extra time because the two products are different. There's integration. You cannot always get what you want. So this is something that takes time. Of course, and then there's customization, right? So, a customer always has processes. They have teams. They have specific rules. They have needs for statistics, reporting. Everything like that is something that takes time and needs to be thought through. So something that literally is like, spinning up a bot in an hour and doing some training becomes a project, and that's why it takes 2 months, right? Of course, it can be done quicker, but this is the average that we have seen. And if you have any questions around that, just put it in the chat panel in the virtual webinar room, and I'll answer these after I end the slides. So the next question is, how much data is required when starting out? And I understand where this question comes from, because companies usually think that they might need a lot of data because everybody says, data is key, data is king, data is the most valuable thing there is, right? So if I don't have data, like, does it make sense to build a bot, right? Like, what's happening there? Well, the answer is that actually you don't need much data. And even if you don't have any data, it doesn't mean that you cannot have a virtual assistant, right? So, and what I mean by that is that the customer, so if you are buying a chatbot, you need to know what topic the bot needs to know. You need to say, okay, the bot needs to know these 50 topics. Usually we advise to have it between, let's say, less than 100, let's say between 50 and 100, totally sufficient. Later on, you can, have 1,000 topics, but starting out, 50 is sufficient. And then if you know what topics need to be there, then essentially how we work with customers is that, they give us a spreadsheet file with the name of the topic in one column and the answer in the other column, right? And that's it. So it's super simple, right? The name of the topic is like, office opening hours, and the answer is, we are open, I don't know, Monday to Friday at 9 to 5, and Saturday, Sunday we're closed, right? So just have that, and then what happens is that then you just start training the bot. But the training part is something that, if you think you have 50 topics, then usually, let's say you put 10 phrases per topic, and one phrase is like one utterance. So if we have the same example of like, how long is your, let's say the topic is office opening hours, and then people might say the utterance is like opening hours, how long are you open, when do you close, do you open on Saturdays, right? You think like 10 phrases around that, and that's actually pretty sufficient to get the bot started, right? Of course, there will become more phrases, but you don't need to have out of the box like 100 different ways of asking that same topic, right? I think 10, 15 is sufficient. So in that sense, even if you don't have any data, you can, you can cold start a bot pretty well. And this whole thing speeds up the bot building process pretty considerably. Another question is, what kind of existing data can be used initially, right? So it's tying a little bit into the previous question, but let's say you have something, and let's discuss what that is and what are the pros and the cons. So ideally, of course, you have chat logs, but what you want to have in the bot training is you actually want to have the exact phrases that customers have written into a chat window. So what we have seen is that you can get chat transcripts, but they come just as a large transcript. So it's, customer saying hi, agent is saying hello, customer is saying I have a question, then there's a pause, then there's the next line, how long is the office open, and then the human agent responds, right? Actually, from that interaction, the thing you need is how long is your office open? That question, right? That is something that is the phrase that has value. So this is very helpful. So if you have that and you can utilize it, definitely it's good to utilize those, because that's actual customer data, right? How they have asked things. Some companies have emails. Emails can be used, but there's like a caveat. So emails are longer and they usually have multi-intent in it. So what this means is that you get a thing like, hi, my name is X. Yesterday this happened. Now I don't know what to do. Where can I go with this problem? How long is your office open today, right? So you have all kinds of intents in it, and sort of it's not the exact same medium as chat, right? You can still utilize it, but it's not exactly the same. So what I would do is, I would suggest if you have chat logs, utilize those, but bear in mind that it takes time to utilize chat logs. And why? So this actually means two things. So one is that you actually need to clean it. With chat logs, you need to filter out the unimportant things like hi, hello, goodbye, I have a question. These are trivial and meaningless. So you just want to have the core of the customer question, and then you can use that to train, right? However, data cleaning takes time. So if you ask any data scientist, they probably say like 70% of the time they are cleaning data, and then 5% they're running algorithms, right? So just bear in mind, if you run large data sets, it can be tedious. And of course, when you work with vendors, then legal work around getting the data takes time. So if say we are a vendor and we're working with a customer, then to get all the legal things signed, understood what the data is, the customer puts together the data, and then of course has to anonymize it before giving it to the vendor. Again, this takes time. So this thing can take you like a month or two. So just, when you're starting up your bot, and if you don't have the data ready-made in a nice and clean form, you don't necessarily need it. And of course, you can later on use it as well. But the actual thing also, that if you don't have existing chat logs, then once you put the bot into production, you will get that data, right? So if the vendor has a good product, then that data is available in that product, and you can use that to train the bot. So it's something kind of a problem you have in the first, let's say, month or two when you don't have a lot of data. But then once the bot gets going, then you can just use the data that the bot has with the users and make the bot better. Okay, so topic rating matrix, and this actually is something that ties into how do you choose the right topics that you want to have in the bot. So how you can make your bot better is choosing the right topics. And this can be a webinar on its own, but this is something that we have created, and we call it the topic rating matrix. So essentially, what you do is, let's say you put together the 50 topics, and you say, here are the 50 topics that we have. But then what we do is we say, okay, let's put them on a two-dimensional, on two axes, and let's rate them on one by occurrence and the other by solvability, right? So what does that mean? So occurrence means that actually how many questions you have on each topic. So let's say in this example, the topic of, I have been having issues with my mobile signal. Let's say it's a telecom use case. It occurs, maybe, it's not low, it's medium, it's not high. So it has a medium occurrence. Let's say, I don't know, out of 10,000 customers, let's say, like you get this, like, 30 times per month or 40 times per month, right? Okay, so it's not 1 or 2, but it's also not like 500, right? So let's say you put it occurrence is like 2, right? And then what you want to have, of course, is you want to list the topics by the number of times they occur, right? So you want to find the topics that out of 10,000 times are asked 1,000 times, 500 times, like 200 times. You want to see what those are. And then the second thing you're looking at is the solvability, right? So actually, how easily the bot can solve it on its own. And here, we use a 3-tiered rating. Is that, 1 is that only human can solve it. 2 is that the bot can solve it, but with some kind of external data, like logging in or some API-based data. And then 3 is the bot can solve it on its own without any kind of external data or human help. And then, what you want to have ideally is the intersection between the highest occurrence and the highest solvability. So in this case, what is the cheapest mobile plan available for a new user? Let's say 1,000 people ask this every month. The bot clearly knows what is the cheapest, and then it can just recommend this is the cheapest and go and buy it. So this is a very good use case. However, the question of, what could be the problem with the mobile signal, it doesn't get asked a lot. And then the problem could be manifold, could be depending on where the customer lives, what kind of phone they have they updated their phone and software, it can be a million different things. So it's very hard for the bot to solve on its own, right? So this is something that this is just something that makes sense for the for you to keep in mind when you are actually building the bot and choosing the topics. And then launching the virtual assistant. So how to think about that, when to do it, and I think this can also help you considerably in making your bot better and superior. So, we actually recommend doing the launch in 3 steps. So one is a pre-public launch. So basically, this is what you do is when you test it in-house with your employees. Usually in companies, they have a project group of like few people. Those are responsible for building the bot and being involved with it. But then, you shout out on the internet that, we have this great thing coming up, and here's a closed website, and go ask things, right? Just, ask things related to some topics, or ask anything really, and then see how it goes, right? So the good thing is that actually you see how different people ask about the bot. Maybe 100 people go and talk to it. You see maybe there are some things in the user interface you need to change, and you can actually get some really quick wins out of it. So something that you didn't think about, but somebody says, and like, oh, maybe we should make the chat bubble pop up automatically, or maybe we should make it purple, people can see it, whatever it is, right? Of course, you have to bear in mind that the questions are biased, right? So, people from within the company, they ask questions differently because they know so much usually about the product and the company. Plus, they can ask like tough testing questions as well, like I don't know, like what's happening in the news right now, or who is who won the latest, I don't know, football game, or stuff like that. Things that the bot obviously does not need to know, and actually never will be asked by real users. So this is something to keep in mind. Then once it's ready, then you can do a silent launch. So here, you can put it on a sub page of your website, somewhere that customers can access to it, but preferably maybe not front page. And then you can see how customers really are starting to interact with the virtual assistant. So what they're asking, how they're asking it, do they get value out of it? You get statistics about what are the topics that are coming up, and things like that. And this is very valuable because then you can really see what's happening, how things are working, and you can change things if necessary. And then the last thing is public launch, right? So there is the place when you can go to your news outlets and then say that, hey, we have this great thing, this virtual assistant, it helps our customers, and you can show already what you have built. Maybe in the PR you can have some metrics that X% of people found it helpful, or it's solving that many things. And then of course you can people can come and see and try it for themselves. But of course, since it's early days, we always err on the side of under promise, over deliver, because people's expectations for virtual assistants can be really high. They might just say a few words and expect the bot to do everything. And if it doesn't do it, then the bot is considered to be dumb. So this is something to keep in mind. And also people have a tendency of trying the bot once and then just based on that experience decide if it's good or not, right? So like if it doesn't get the first question right, then it's maybe not that smart, which definitely is not the case, right? But something to keep in mind. So then the bot is something that's always evolving. So whenever it's ready, or 1 or 2 months already in live production, it's always evolving. So it just takes time to get better and better over time. So these are the topics I wanted to cover, and I'll see if we have had some questions. So I'll take these. So we have a question: when starting out with a chatbot project, how many people should there be in the workforce from the company side? So trainers, project managers. Okay, good question. So you are buying the chatbot. We always recommend that there's one person in charge from the company. He or she is the one that has the mandate to do this, and let's say she will decide what the bot should know. From the vendor side, the vendor needs to know what are the topics, what are the KPIs, how the bot is measured, and what is the focus, right? So let's say, especially if you're doing a pilot or a POC, maybe it's not that important. You're just trying things out. Like, we don't really know. That's fine. Like, you do it for 2-3 months and then you figure things out. But if it's like, let's say you want to do a full-fledged, have a large enterprise, cross-company rollout, you kind of need to know what you want to achieve, because when you have that, you have a better chance of succeeding. So definitely one project manager. Workload, usually I'd say, let's say the integration and setup, let's say it's 3 months. I think the workload of project manager is 50% usually. Of course, it's a very big rollout. Of course, it can be 100, but mostly the vendor is, at least in our case, the vendor is doing bulk of the work, building it, training it, all that kind of stuff. Now, trainers, yes, it's good to have a person from your company side who will be, let's say, handling the content of the bot. And there you need somebody who maybe not in the beginning doesn't need to understand like how everything works, but is involved, so that when they are building, ideally the trainer is building the bot together with the vendor. And during that process, the trainer gets the whole understanding of the solution and then is able to later on train people in-house as well. So we, as a vendor, we in the beginning help companies to build the bot, train it, put in the topics and everything. But later on, it's usually that the companies themselves that take it over. And then usually there is the trainer or the content manager of the bot who takes it over and starts managing the content, right? Maybe then the project manager task is more about like, okay, if we want authentication, the vendor needs to talk to our IT guys. Here's our legal guys. Like, that's the job of the project manager. So ideally, one project manager at least half time, one trainer at least half time. I think this is sort of the minimum you can get going with. And then what you want to have is somebody from the IT involved, that the vendor can ask questions and get quick feedback. Maybe somebody, and also somebody from the business side, right? So somebody who's like, whose KPIs are going to be either sales, customer support, whatever that may be. And of course, always have legal in the loop as well, because GDPR, personalized data, things like that. Always good to get understood what's happening at home. Okay. Let's see if we have anything. Okay, what are the most common mistakes our customers make when starting out? I'd say the most common one is that they don't really know what they want. So they come in and they want a bot, but they sometimes people and of course it's not their fault. Like they think they want to do automation, but they have to really think through that. Is the bot, that tool, what they need? So first, you need volumes. Having a bot where you have, let's say, 100 or 500 chats per month doesn't really make any sense, because the human brain is faster and is better and cheaper in that sense. So first you got to have volumes, and of course then you need to know what is the use case, right? And it's very different. Like whether let's say you want it for customer support, then in that case the bot will need to know topics. It will need to answer those really well. If it's for sales, it's just actually more about leads. It's about getting people to leave their email, their phone number, channeling that to salespeople. So what I would say is that in the beginning, if you are a customer, be very sure of communicating to the vendor what you really want, what your needs are, and also tie them to some metric. Let's say like we want to push this metric of speeding up responses to customers. Great, right? Let's do that and measure that, and maybe we can actually build something that's not so like a 5-month project with everything bells and whistles, but maybe it's something shorter. If it's something in sales, then maybe all you need is some kind of a lead capture tool, which can also be considered like a chatbot, but actually maybe it doesn't need to know natural language. Maybe it's just like something that is a form and collects emails, right? So things like that. So this is what I would advise customers. And the second thing also to keep in mind is that always try to start with something smaller. And sometimes customers are too overly ambitious and they underestimate the work that goes into, well, this is also in IT projects, but they underestimate the work that goes into building these things. So if the more focused you are, the sort of the more core and the closer and then smaller the project is, it will be work in the end anyway. But you're the more likely you are, you actually get it. You get the result you want in the time frame that you have for it. Okay. Let's see if there are any more questions. Feel free to shout out. If not, okay. And so one thing I also remembered is which actually relates to the topic is that of course the definition of superiority is different. Some people are putting a lot of emphasis into having the best natural language understanding, but also one of the things I advise companies to really think about is sort of the tone and the personality and the character you give for the bot, because the bot is not just like natural language understanding. It's actually also about branding. So if you have a brand that's sort of very easygoing and relaxed and like fun, then try to convey that in your bot as well. So have a cool name for the bot, have an avatar, the visual side, because the customers will be always seeing that. Have a tone. Maybe you have like some nice greetings or something. Of course, don't go too familiar and put too many conversations and long answers into the bot and jokes. But sort of try to think like the persona of your company. If you're building the bot, it goes a long way, because it's all about it's a machine, but like you're feeling the conversation with it, and people judge things on like a million different things, not just the accuracy of the answers, of course. So there is also something that I can see that if many customers put work into it, and also the design of the chat window and everything goes with it. These are very small nuances, but they help out considerably. Okay, so thank you everyone for attending. Hopefully this was useful. And we will have our next webinar already in 2 weeks' time. We will keep this regular, and there is more exciting content upcoming. So yeah, feel free to subscribe to our mailing list and keep an eye on our website and blog, where we will announce upcoming webinars and also show videos in the past and also a link to our YouTube channel. So with that, thank you very much, and then have a good day. Bye.